Welcome to episode 259 of Build Your House Yourself University by HiU. I'm your host and fellow student, Michelle Nelson, and together we'll learn the basics of home design and construction and demystify the building process so we can make smart decisions and build quality dream homes with or without a general contractor. Well, I know I've been away for a while. My work schedule just doesn't seem to be getting any less busy. So I'm doing my best to put out as much content as I can. This week we have a great interview with a homeowner named Rachel. She's coming to the end of her home building project, and she's going to talk to us about the challenges she's had and the good and bad parts of building a custom home. She's used a builder, and she wants to tell us about her experiences. I'm so glad that she's generous enough to share her time and her story with us because we will be able to learn from her journey. So without further ado, here's Rachel.
So my name is Rachel. I'm married to my wonderful husband, David. We have 4 children, one of which is 5 months old. So
Oh my word.
we're doing this whole process in the midst of a pregnancy and all that. And we live in Southwest Ohio.
So tell us when you started and finished your build. Are you finished yet?
We are not finished.
Okay.
We are not finished yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we initially started the building process in the design phase with the floor plans and all that back in April of 2021.
Okay.
So we finalized our floor plans in November of 21, and we were supposed to break ground there in December, but that then got pushed back to January of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So we broke ground the first week of January. And then we were supposed to close the last week of November, which would be here in a couple weeks. That got pushed to early December, which that then got pushed to mid to late January of 2023.
I've seen the pictures and you're almost there, Rachel.
Oh, in the home stretch.
Yes, that's right. So let's talk about the design and style of your house. I've seen pictures and it's gorgeous. So tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you. So it was an interesting compromise. So my husband likes more modern. I like more traditional. So I would really call it more like modern transitional.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely something that we compromised on. There were certain pieces of the home that I wanted. We knew we wanted a first floor gym. So we did do that. Some things we compromised on because we wanted a walkout deck. But with our lot, we could not get that. The builder said something about the grade of our lot. We weren't able to get that. So we wanted that. And I wanted a curved staircase, which was a huge pain, but it's going to be gorgeous. But yeah. So, and then we wanted what's called a turret, which is the outside window curved that you see from the front.
Yes.
It's just gives it a bit of interest. I wanted the home to look like nothing I've ever seen or anybody's ever built before. So that was kind of what I was going for there.
Well, I think you achieved that, Rachel, at least from what I've seen. So it really is a good looking house.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the house plans. You just mentioned them, but did you purchase the house plan online or I think you said you had it drawn up?
Right. Yeah, we did not purchase the house plan. It was a fully custom. We just had a general idea of the features that we wanted, like how many bedrooms, the layout, where we wanted the bedrooms to be. So countless hours on Pinterest, even still, helped to design the house. But yeah, it's fully custom.
Now, as you said, you built in the midst of not only a pregnancy, but also the pandemic. God bless you, girl. So tell us how the pandemic affected your build.
So there was definitely shortage of labor that we're seeing even right now in this stage with the trim guy being several weeks behind because he was on another job. Definitely longer build times, that sort of what I explained earlier. So one of the first things that we ordered back, I would say in February of last year, was our appliances. They said with the supply chain and everything, by the time we move in, we likely wouldn't even still have our microwave. So we will see how that goes. But yeah, it's definitely prolonged the whole building process because typically they build within 10 months. So from start to finish, ours, kind of what I explained earlier, is much longer than that.
Yeah. So did you change any of your design elements or selections because of supply chain issues?
Yes, for our gym that we explained earlier, we kind of wanted that indoor outdoor feel. So the gym does open up out to the back patio, but with that, the door we wanted was sort of a very large, like accordion style door,
Oh, yeah.
like breakaway door. I don't know what they call it exactly. And they just could not find it. So, due to supply chain issues, they did find one, but it was $15,000. And we decided we couldn't justify spending that on the door. So, we went with a different style door. But
So what did
yeah,
you go with instead?
so it is like a 3 panel door. The wall looks very open out to the back patio. Only one of the doors actually opens. The other two were more like large top to floor to ceiling window, if you will.
Yeah,
So it kind of gives that big look, that big open feel that we wanted, but it's
Mhm.
not the huge breakaway door that we initially thought we were going to have.
Well, I know it's going to be beautiful anyway. So were those all the changes that you had to make, mainly with the door? Any other
Yeah,
ones?
everything else we were able to get. It is just of an upcharge. So
Oh, I
we just
see.
had to really decide what was worth it, what wasn't worth it, as far as things that went with our design. We kind of weighed the things that were more important. We were willing to go up with the price, which is why budget is non-existent anymore at this point. But
Yeah, girl, I know it.
yeah,
I
so
uh, I know it. Well, we're going to talk about budget and cost saving things in just a second, but before we get to that, I want to ask you if you have any advice for us regarding communicating with contractors, whether that's the general contractor or subcontractors.
So we don't deal too much with the subcontractors personally, but we talk with our general contractor on a regular basis. I would say having a really good personal relationship with him has made the process a lot smoother. He's very responsive to text, which my husband does a lot of, but there is an app that we used from the start of the build that is through our builders use it, and they communicate everything through that app. So
Oh,
you can send emails, they put progress photos in there so you can kind of see the home come to life
oh,
from start to finish, which is really neat because you can save all the photos that the general contractor goes to the site and takes. So you can kind of see it from when they broke ground to all the weekly progress, and they'll give kind of updates in there on what we're working on this week, what's to come. And there it has been a calendar from start to finish before they even broke ground of this is the timeline of how things are going to go all through that app. So
oh,
it's
that's
been
so nice.
really nice to kind of see, are we on track? Are we behind in schedule? And the general contractor has been very forthcoming with all of the delays and anything that we run into. So it's been really nice to have that personal relationship with him.
And do you know the name of that app or no?
It's called Builder Trend.
And so I'm just wondering, how often do you speak with your general contractor?
At this point, I would say at least weekly. My
Wow.
husband just texted him earlier about a concern that he had because we went over to the site and there was a crack in the concrete of the driveway.
Mm.
So my husband had texted him a photo of it and asked him about it. So yeah, I would say weekly at this point. So it's becoming more often as we're getting closer to the finish.
Yeah. Speaking of going to the job site, how often are you guys going to the job site? And I think you kind of answered the next question, which is what happens when you see a mistake?
Mhm. So we're kind of in an interesting situation because when we initially started the build, we were told November. So we sold our home during the big spike in when everyone was selling their home. It was a good time to sell. So we sold
Right.
our home, moved into an apartment and leased for a specific amount of time, gave ourselves a few more months to stay in the apartment just to give a little bit of leeway. Ended up completely not being done on time. So our lease was up, so now we live with my in-laws who live directly across the street from our new build.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
it's
so
really nice.
convenient.
It's very convenient. To answer your question, we visit the job site probably every other day.
Okay, good for
So,
you.
yeah,
Good for you. And
yeah,
so when there are mistakes, do you take pictures? Do you text? How do
yes.
you handle those?
So we take photos and try to keep it. I try to keep everything on the app just so there's more open line of communication for everyone, because you can CC, like we have a designer, we have other people who are involved in the process, and you can kind of make those people aware, versus my husband prefers texting. So he, like I said, will text the general contractor his questions and photos of things that we have had happen during the build.
I'm wondering, because it sounds like you're like me and you want your house to be pretty unique. I'm just wondering, did you get any pushback or any resistance to maybe some newer ideas that you had that may not be that common or that may have been new to your general contractor?
Definitely. We definitely had a few design ideas that kind of got the kibosh as we got further down into the process. For instance, we had a room that we wanted to be a wall of mirrors. Mm-hmm. So it was actually on the one side was a bedroom and the other side was my study, and it had a hidden door. So the one side in the study side was wainscoting, all the way floor to ceiling wainscoting. And on the other side I wanted the floor to ceiling mirrors on that one wall. All was fine. It was, one of the designers helped me come up with that idea during the design process. Then when it come time to build it, they were concerned for safety reasons. They didn't want to do it. So they kind of came up with another idea that ended up being fine. In the long run, it ended up being fine. But yeah, so that was something that we got a little pushback on, as well as my front steps. It was kind of a little bit of a headache because I wanted them curved, mm-hmm. which they had never done before. So back and forth with renderings they knew what I wanted. They kind of made it come to life in a rendering, and then we would kind of go back and forth and see what we could agree on. And we finally came to a conclusion, but it was lots of things that they hadn't done before that kind of pushed the envelope, but it'll be beautiful once it's all said and done. But it's been an experience for sure.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences, Rachel, where, I feel like Pinterest is a blessing and a curse because
absolutely,
because you see all these wonderful ideas and you point to it and you say, I want that. And mm-hmm. it seems, you're like, they did it. Why can't you do it? And right. I do feel like some general contractors, most, I would say, and subcontractors want to do what they've kind of always done. Of course, that's the easier thing to do. So sometimes it is hard to get them to kind of think through what we want to have in our houses. So I'm having some similar experiences. So it's not just you.
Right.
But yeah. You know what? This is what I figured. Nobody exactly knew what was planned in our heads. So when we see the house and when they see the house, it'll just be beautiful. The big picture will be a beautiful one.
Right. And kind of coming to it with the mindset of they've never built this house before. They've never built something like this before, mm-hmm. to kind of give them some slack, because like I said, I was pregnant during most of this build. So mm-hmm. I really had to talk to my husband, like, am I overreacting, or is mm-hmm. this something that I need to be upset about and mm-hmm. speak up about? So he kind of really helped me in that process. But thinking, this is their first time doing it. This is a brand new home. Nobody's home is like this. And so, of course, we're going to run into some complications down the road with the logistics of it all.
Yeah, that's a great attitude to have, Rachel. Did you do any online shopping for materials or fixtures? And if so, what were some of your favorite online resources?
So yes, definitely did some online shopping, because there are things that they would offer, but some of the things were pretty standard, and it wasn't going with my style. So I used Pinterest a lot to get ideas for what I was going for. And a lot of our big fixtures I found at our house online. Mm-hmm. So I would try to find dupes if I could, like Wayfair and Overstock were some good options. Mm-hmm. But my big ticket items I got from our house.
Okay. Yeah, I love that site. And what about any books or other online resources that you use to help you with the actual design or understanding the construction process?
So yes, definitely looked to all the different resources that I could, because we've built a home before, but it was a pretty standard. It was a Ryan home, so it was pretty standard. Choose A, B, or C. Those are your choices.
Yes.
So now really being very involved in the building process and trying to understand all the pieces of it, having very little knowledge from the start. Facebook groups actually have been extremely helpful. Being in a Facebook group where everyone else was in the same boat, or have been recently, it's nice to kind of bounce ideas, ask questions, get advice. So it's been a really incredible source to kind of be in there and ask openly about design issues or just even layout issues from the start. So that has been an incredible resource to me.
Do you have any that you want to name that have been really
Yes, actually, let me look it up for you.
Yeah.
The one that I use the most is called, kind of a long name, Building, Design, and Decor Q&A for 5,000 plus square foot homes.
Okay. I'm in that
That
one.
is,
I'm in that one too. Yeah.
yes, that is the name of the one that I use probably the most. I would say there's an interior design Facebook group called Interior Design Ask Everything, because again, that's not my forte, but I wanted it to be beautiful. So I kind of really tried to gain as much knowledge as I could on how to make everything flow.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you decide against using an interior designer?
From the start, you actually get, I don't want to say appointed one, but you have one that comes with it. So with the builder gives you a designer. So we worked really closely with her in deciding almost all the things. So like tile piecing, which tile colors we want together, the flow of the house, kind of matching the colors, which color cabinets with. So we have two-tone cabinets in the kitchen. So she was very important in our build to kind of help me steer in the right direction of, okay, she's done this before. She knows these colors look good together, kind of understanding undertones of paint colors, things like that.
Yeah, that sounds so helpful.
I definitely could not have done it myself.
Oh, yeah. Just curious about your kitchen. Tell me about your two-tone kitchen cabinets. What tones did you use?
So we just went with white cabinets, and then our island is tricorn black. And then we have our range. We did a full range. We switched it from the flat top range to a full range, if that makes sense. And then the hood is tricorn black.
Oh, nice.
So the white cabinets, and then the island is black and the hood is black. So then we'll probably I have like from our house. Are they from our house? No, they're from McGee & Co. Some gold Mercury pendants.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, they're the love of my life. So I'm excited to see those go in.
I've always seen silver. I've not ever seen gold.
Yeah, so they're gold, and then we're gonna do probably gold stools. So I'm gonna have to trying to piece it all together in your mind without actually seeing it. I'm a very visual person, so it's hard for me to try to see it all together. And then making those decisions where, do you want matte black? We went with matte black hardware. I went back and forth between matte black and gold. Which one do you want? I don't know. So I tried to go with more traditional things that would last versus say more trendy, even though I wanted to go trendy with some things that I kind of scaled back and said, okay, well, let's just go with that. Even though hardware is very easy to replace.
It is.
That's what I went with.
That sounds like a gorgeous and classic kitchen that's gonna stand the test of time. It sounds so good, and I'm gonna look up those pendants. I want to see those.
Oh, I'll send them to you. So that is probably one of the things that I struggled with the most was lighting, because my designer would help with all the other things as far as like I said, tile selection and piecing everything together. As far as lighting, they kind of went, well, what would you like? And I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, I spent a lot of time looking for lighting, because I guess I never realized how expensive it was until I kind of got into it, and I said, oh my gosh. So you really have to kind of pick and choose which areas you're going to spend the money. So we went with more expensive things like in the dining room and the kitchen, and things that you kind of see every day versus say like a spare bathroom or the bathroom in the basement. We kind of scaled back and saved some in those areas. So
that's smart. And what sites or what stores did you get a lot of your lighting from?
So like I said, our house and the pendants were from McGee & Co., if I'm saying that correctly. So then the other lights, a lot of the other lights, we went with Wayfair, Overstock, and actually Amazon for vanity light. They have some pretty decent vanity lights. You don't have to go crazy with those because, again, those are very easily replaced as well.
That's right. Well, let's talk about some budgetary things, costs and everything. Did you have any surprise costs that you did not anticipate? And then if you could give us some cost saving tips that you've learned along the way.
Okay. So from the start, I really wanted that custom curved staircase. That was kind of my dream, to have a grand entrance, a grand foyer. That was my whole, if you see kind of the front archway with the stone and the double doors, that's kind of the whole vibe that I wanted there in the front. So I really wanted that curved staircase. I really didn't have a great idea of what it would cost. I had an idea in my head. Boy, was I wrong. So that was probably a big fork in the road where I said, oh my gosh, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? But again, it was that extra little piece that says, okay, nobody else has this style of home altogether. And that's really something that I wanted so badly. So I went with it because in my mind, it was already made up and my jaw dropped, but it was too late. I had already made up my mind. And that's something that I definitely had my heart set on. So we went with that. As far as other surprise costs, change orders. I knew that was going to be a thing, but I guess I really didn't put it all together because a change order that we made was in my daughter's bathroom. She had a closet like in the middle of the bathroom that we had drawn up, and it was really awkward and just poorly placed. So we said, okay, we're just going to take it out and have her put her towels underneath the vanity, which is a large vanity anyway. So it'll be fine. She doesn't need that. So the change order cost was about $350 for any change that you would make. You'd pay $350 plus the cost of any additional material if you wanted to make something different. So we had the closet removed from my daughter's bathroom before they even started building. And it still cost $350.
Rachel.
Just to not build it. So yeah, those types of things were a little bit surprising. But, just with the timing of our build and when we locked our interest rate and things like that, that the prices skyrocketed, I would say, like within weeks of that. So I think that they were trying to at least make their money, where they needed to. I don't know if that makes me feel better or worse, but that's what I think has something to do with it. Another surprise cost was just like the increased cost of materials. So you really have to go over everything with like a fine-tooth comb, which is something we learned the hard way. So when we were discussing about the tile in the girls' bathroom and how we would have that look, we realized not too long ago, actually, the shower doors were not ordered for my two daughters' bathrooms. So we have a shower door in our master, a shower door in my girls' bathrooms, which we did like a custom tile, for both of their showers. Well, when we were originally discussing the cost back in when we first started this process, the shower doors cost $750 for a shower door. I don't know if you want to know numbers, but I'm just throwing that out. So you can kinda,
if you're comfortable sharing them, it's great.
So that's the cost of the shower door. Well, we realized just a few weeks ago when we were going over the shower is tiled, but there's no shower door. And I'm like, looking back into the plans, the shower doors were not ordered. So we hadn't paid for them. So I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be out of pocket. Okay. All right. That was my mistake. I didn't realize it. Well, now the shower doors were $1,500.
Doubled.
Yeah. So that's just from the start of our build to now. If we were to build, this is what a shower door would cost. So we're going to try to see about going somewhere else and having different shower doors installed to see if we can try to save some money there. Because either way, any way you slice it's going to be out of pocket. And so that is definitely a surprise. I be prepared for something like that where you're going to have a lot of things coming out of pocket after the fact.
Yeah. Maybe because you've missed it or because I didn't know either, Rachel, that you have to be so meticulous when you're going over the plans, when you're going over the products that you need to order. And I kind of feel like I'm somewhat meticulous, but it's at a whole nother level when you're having to go over things to make sure you haven't missed anything.
Oh, absolutely. And in that point of the process, it's so overwhelming because you have so many decisions to make. And then you see this big form where you have all the decisions that you've made. Oh my gosh, is it all on there? I don't know. But something I will point out is a lot of the times it's really not customer friendly language that they use. And so you're like, okay, these are the words that they're using. What does that really mean? And so it takes a lot of time to go back and say, hey, is this what we talked about? Is this what you mean by these words here? And they're like, yes, that's fine. We're noticing now things that we've missed, things that we wanted and we can't have. So we're kind of going with the flow as much as possible as we're near the end. And yeah.
So that was part 1 of our interview with Rachel. We'll have part 2 in the next couple of weeks, where she'll answer more questions that most people have about building a home. I also want to give special thanks to Rachel because I had some technical difficulties and wasted a lot of her time before we actually recorded. So Rachel, thank you for your kindness and patience, and I cannot wait to share the second part of your interview with my audience in the next couple of weeks. So if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the show or follow the show if you're doing it on Apple Podcasts, so that as soon as new content is released, the podcast will be placed in your podcast library. Thanks so much for joining me. Join me again next time for the next episode of Build Your House Yourself University. Bye, you. Please remember that the purpose of this podcast is simply to educate and inform. It's not a substitute for professional advice. The information that you hear is based only on the opinions, research, and experiences of my guests and myself. That information might be incomplete, it's subject to change, and it may not apply to your project. In addition, building codes and requirements vary from region to region, so always consult a professional about specific recommendations for your home.